And up next is Naomi Bourgeois. Give it up for Naomi.
Thank you. Hola. Mi nombre es Naomi Bourgeois. I want to tell you a little bit about the life-altering events that inspire me to build a technology company to change the way we give and receive help. And I hope it's inspirational as well. A little bit about me. My mom's Japanese. My dad was from Spain. They actually grew up and met in Argentina. And eventually they moved to Venezuela, where my 4 siblings and I were born. I'm actually the one in the middle. And being such a multicultural family, dinner looked like roulette. We had sushi and paella and parrilla and arepas, like you name it. It's been like a tradition in my family to change countries on every generation. So I came to the United States in 2000, and specifically Austin because it met my dad's 2 criteria. I had a good engineering school, and also there was a low probability that my brother and I will freeze in the winter. And you know, when I got here, I got accepted at UT, and my English wasn't that good. In fact, I remember clearly in my classes, I would write down the words as they sounded in Spanish to later figure out what they were. And sometimes how they sound and how they're spelled, 2 different things. But I managed and graduated magna cum laude in chemical engineering. And thank you. In 2004, I married Greg. Greg was from Michigan, so we added another nationality and menu to our family, so that was exciting. And marriage is a life-altering event, and it's a life-altering event because it affects us in multiple dimensions. It's not only marriage. You're changing your residence, you're changing your living conditions, you're changing your sleeping partner. It's kind of hard to see in this graph, but in this table you have different life events and the life-changing unit. So depending on how they impact you. So when you have a lot of events happening in a short amount of time in your life, you have a higher chance that you will have a stress-related illness. And it also depends on the individual perspective, right? Like, are they seeing an event as positive, as negative, what caused it, and how to react to it? It's also not uniform across the population. And it depends on gender and roles and ages. So, for example, a baby hopefully is not worrying about paying the mortgage loan. And retired person is not worrying about losing its job. But sometimes there are events that are just one single event that really affects you. In 2005, I got a phone call, and they said, Naomi, you have to come back to Venezuela because Dad had a heart attack and he passed away. And that was like devastating. One event, right? But it didn't affect me in other dimensions because I was living in the United States, so it didn't affect me financially. It didn't affect, my daily routine. Years later, I welcomed Yvonne and Dylan, and, a new source of happiness. But again, children, totally life-altering event, right? In multiple dimensions, and also those changes as they grow. But Greg and I managed. We were doing well financially. We had our careers, figured out. The family was doing well. And in 2012, he got diagnosed with cancer, and he passed away 6 months later. And so that was devastating, right? Like, I have to figure out, okay, how do I manage my career? How do I manage my children? There was a lot of things going on, right? And the important part of that is that a lot of families and friends came together and they offered me help. The interesting thing is they all come at the onset of the situation, which is exactly when you're overwhelmed, you don't know what you need, your family visiting, and it's difficult to know what you need at that moment in time. But within weeks, you start realizing the things that weren't getting done. So Greg did a lot of things for our family, little things like picking up the mail and taking out the trash to taking care of our finances. And when he went, like, everything was now my responsibility to take care of. And on top of that, you're grieving. So sometimes things weren't getting done. I mean, there was not enough time to get everything done. One part of my presentation is to consider how did you really help someone who had just lost a loved one? In fact, 75% is very normal of your support network is not going to be around within weeks. And that's because they move on their normal life. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to say, so that they don't reach out. 80% of Americans have been impacted by the death of a loved one, but less than half know where to turn. Crisis can also be a catalyst for positive change. When you go through crisis like that, you start looking at your identity, you look at your priorities, you look at your relationships, and there is an opportunity for growth. And I love this saying here, because that's kind of what happened to me. At some point in my grieving, I realized that, unfortunately, every one of us in this room is going to be affected at one point or another. And I was trying to think, okay, what can I do to make it better? What can I do to help? And so that's why I built Kikupal. Kiku means listening in Japanese, so it's listening friend. And it's an online platform where your families and friends can buy points for a loved one who's going through a hard time. And with those points, your loved one can get practical services such as house cleaning, lawn care, meal delivery, rides, concierge services. The beautiful thing about that is it's actual help what they get, and that they can bank the goodwill of help when people are offering, but they don't have to decide what they need then. They can wait and decide later. So we're excited in Kikupal. We're changing the way we give and receive help. We have a lot of plans to make it the trusted company will turn when things like that happen in our life. I hope that my talk inspired you to find solutions to a problem you're passionate about. Thank you.